Welcome back to Your Career Podcast. If you ever feel stuck in your career or you need a little clarity in order to manage your career moving forward, or you're looking for a new job, visit janejacksoncoach.com. I've plenty of free downloads for you and a lot of career management support that will help to set you well on your way.
Welcome to Jane Jackson Careers, a podcast that takes your career to the next level. Here's your host, Jane Jackson, author of Amazon Careers bestseller, Navigating Career Crossroads.
Businesses with women in leadership equal to men deliver a 36% higher return to shareholders. However, many women that Amanda Blesing speaks with say that they feel lost in their leadership quest. Today, my podcast guest is Amanda Blesing, and as one of Australia's freshest thinkers and speakers on feminine ambition, how to tackle it, spark it, and see it flourish, she helps career-minded women in leadership to build their presence, positioning, and personal brand, then fast-track their progress and pathway to the boardroom. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to have Amanda on the show is not only is she an exceptionally talented lady, but she also has a very similar career path to myself. In our early days, we both loved dancing and we were dancers, and then we transitioned into fitness and we were both fitness instructors, and we both won awards for our fitness experiences. So today, let's get to know the real Amanda Blesing and find out what she would recommend to women in leadership. And now let's welcome Amanda Blesing to the show. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Jane. Delighted to be here.
I've been really looking forward to talking to you for such a long time as well, because I believe we have a lot of things in common and you have had a really fascinating career journey. So let's find out all about it. Now, just to kick us off, how about tell us a little bit about your career aspirations when you were just a little girl?
So I knew what I didn't want to be, and I didn't want to be a teacher. My mother was a teacher. My grandmother was a teacher. I was surrounded by teachers, and I didn't want to be a teacher. So guess what I did when I went to university? I started to be a teacher because it was the only option or the only thing I had any experience of. So I thought I'd stick with something safe. So in actual fact, I wanted to be a dancer. Don't know where that came from. I grew up on a farm and I wanted to be a dancer. So pretty stereotyped sort of career aspirations for me.
And so what actually happened as time went on?
So I went off to university and I studied to be a teacher, and I didn't particularly love it. I love the ethos of education. I love the notion of helping people to do better work of education. I love that philosophy. However, I wasn't enamored of perhaps the children that I was teaching. So I decided that there were really passionate people. There were people who were really passionate about education and children, and I decided to let them, have a go, and I would try and find something else that I could be passionate about. And I was able to segue into, towards dancing. So I studied dance for a couple of years, and then for more than a couple of years, and I had aspirations there. But sad to say, the industry at that time, funding was cut to the arts industry here in Australia, and I made a strategic move and segued. I had the art of the segue, and I segued into the fitness industry. So, Jane, I'm going to throw this back on you. I think you and I have something in common.
We do. Now, before we go into the fitness, though, let's talk about the dance. So what sort of dance was it? Ballet, jazz, ballroom? What genre was yours?
So classical ballet was my thing, and as I progressed and learned more, because that was really the only option in the country in South Australia, as I learned more, I really became very enthusiastic about modern, Limon, Graham. I love the modern technique. So that's where I really, just love the organic nature of that style of movements. And now we know that dancing makes you more intelligent. So perhaps and there's recent research to prove that, keeps you younger longer, makes you more intelligent. So I am very happy that I had an early career as a dancer.
Yeah, and actually for me too, because the thing with choreography, because you have to remember sequences and it's so repetitive. First of all, it keeps you fit. You get all that oxygen going to your brain. You feel good when you're in control of your body. And then having to memorize, complex routines, that certainly helps the memory as well. So I think it's got multiple benefits. The only thing is that my feet are absolutely shot.
Yes, me too.
Over the years, it hasn't been good. But now what about the transition into fitness? Now, this is so interesting because I too spent about 16 years in the fitness industry. But let's hear about you, because this is about you, Amanda.
So segued into the fitness industry because the funding cuts, and I was looking for opportunities. Well, how can I use my movement, my love of choreography, my love of movement, and the teaching? So I, at that time, when you're a dancer and you work in the fitness industry, you find there are lots of dancers working in the fitness industry. So I had this lovely clique, I suppose, or cohort of friends and peers we were all dancers working in the fitness industry, and we competed in aerobics championships. And I think you'll find my name somewhere, as a champion in South Australia and in the fitness industry in the mixed pairs. Very exciting, and so it was a really fun career. A really fun career choice for a while. But once again, I guess the writing was on the wall because injuries occur and you get a little bit bored. I knew there was something more.
Yeah. What's quite interesting is we need to dig up some old photos and video. Was this in the days of the Crystal Light Aerobic Championships? Me too. There we go. G-string leotards, leg warmers, headbands, the whole lot. I mean, so much fun. And it all started with Jane Fonda. and I still have her Jane Fonda, that aerobics book that she first put out. But I mean, it's so much fun. But the thing is that what it does is being within the fitness industry and becoming a fitness instructor and the aerobic championships, which I also entered too, but I was in the teams division, which was really good fun. But that was in Singapore for Nike Singapore. But with all of the discipline in order to be as fit as you need to be to participate in those aerobic championships, it means that you've got dedication, determination, you can really push through the pain as well. And so I think it's a really good training ground for a lot of the leadership work that you do now. So after many years in the fitness industry, tell me the story. What happened next?
Jane, would you mind? I want to go back jump back a little bit there, because you said something that was really interesting about leveraging the resilience that we perhaps developed in the fitness industry. And what I have discovered, and I've known, is that I've been a little apologetic about my background as a fitness instructor and a dancer. I haven't owned it. I haven't rocked it. I kept it a little bit secret. And at one point, when I was appointed to a role as CEO, one of my board members Googled me and found some fitness photos. And at that point, I knew I'd matured enough that I wasn't apologetic about it. I had to own it. There was no disguising the fact that he had Googled me as part of, a recruitment process and had discovered that I was a fitness instructor.
Now, first of all, I have to say that what's so interesting is because you're part of the Thought Leaders Business School, yes? Yes. And led by Matt Church, the amazing Matt Church. Now, back in the day when I was in fitness and I was teaching cardio funk and there was, step Reebok was really big. Matt Church was in fitness, and I attended one of the Network for Fitness Professionals conventions, and it was he and Lexi Williams who were up on stage, and they were like gods to me in those days. So this fitness thing, I reckon it's nothing to be apologetic about, because it's such a good industry to be in. And I really admire those who stay within the industry uninjured, because I got so many injuries galore because I just went a little bit overboard. I was so passionate about it, which is, what usually happens when you're in something that you love. But own it. We have got to share photos, Amanda.
We will.
Let's do a combined video of you and me. Yes. But back to your story. And so then you learned to own this wonderful background that you have, but then the fitness, you had its day with regard to the fitness industry, and then you made a transition. So what prompted the transition, and how did you do it?
So in the fitness industry, I guess that there was only this. I moved to the point where I was managing a gym, and there's only so many toilets I want to clean. A gym manager is, you do all the jobs that everyone in the gym does. It's not a glorified role. You are managing staff. You are picking up after people, and So after a while, I got a little bit tired of that. So I was trying to work out what was next, what was a logical next step, and how I could leverage my background. Now, for some reason or other, I must have known about leverage, and I must have known about strategy. So I leveraged my education background, and I leveraged my fitness industry, and I went and worked for Network. So you mentioned Network for Fitness Professionals. I used to work with Lexi and Matt. So I spent 4 or 5 years working with them, and I used to run the Filex Expo, the fitness industry exhibition. I even ran a convention and trade show in Singapore. Network 95, I think it was.
Oh, if it was 94, we would have met.
There you go.
This is amazing. And for the listeners, Amanda and I haven't planned this. We didn't know this about each other. We've only just discovered it today. So I think that really is very exciting. And so, so many parallels. It's amazing. And so running a gym, you had enough. You'd done it. You were successful. And then you transitioned again. So tell me about the thought process. What was it that actually prompted the transition? What was difficult? What was exciting? How did you do it?
So I think that at the time I knew it was scary, but I knew I didn't want to let go of what I had. So often, Jane, you might observe this as well, but so often women and girls are given the advice to take a sideways move or a downward step with their career. And for me, somehow I knew that wasn't right necessarily, that I needed to keep aiming a little bit higher. There was a defining moment for me when I was working in the fitness industry, and I was dating a guy who worked in mining. And at some point we were talking about potential for career earnings and, salary. And I said, well, I think I've hit the cap of my career earnings, my annual earnings. I'm earning $27,000. And that was good in the fitness industry. And I remember he was absolutely shocked. We broke up shortly thereafter.
The nerve.
But I do suspect that there was, something in that. If, perhaps all I had aspired to do for many years. And that's right for some people, but it wasn't right for me. But I think that was the little nudge that I needed to push for something more. So I segued into Network. I ran their exhibitions and conferences. And from there, then came another segue.
And so how did that happen?
So I tend to throw myself into my roles. I go at everything fairly full steam ahead, and I got a little worn out. And the fitness industry combined with the events industry can be quite tiring. So once again, a defining moment, I met another fellow, and he lived in Papua New Guinea, and he had a very exciting role. So I threw it all in and moved to Papua New Guinea. And I was an expatriate for a while. I worked up in Papua New Guinea in a range of roles. I managed the Allan Border Konica tour of Papua New Guinea, where we got to meet with the then Prime Minister and Governor-General. We fundraised for the cricket board up in Papua New Guinea. I also, ran the books on a pokies club, which was an eye-opening experience and really showed me some of the deep, troubling nature around the imbalance around finances and who gets paid. And it was a very interesting observation of the One Talk system and how that plays out in terms of family finances, and drinking and gambling. Mm-hmm. So I learned so much, even though they were probably more sideways moves than directly vertical moves, but I learned so much and it was so fascinating. Mm-hmm. There's so many interesting people in Papua New Guinea.
Yeah. How long did you stay there?
I stayed there for 3 years. Mm-hmm. So I spent a year in Lae, I spent a year in Goroka and a year in Moresby. Mm-hmm. All of it was fascinating. I met a lot of Australian DFAT, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. I met a lot of AusAid people. I contributed and worked on aid projects. It was a fascinating period of time and incredibly colourful. But when it was time to come back, it was time to come back.
Yeah. I think 3 years is a good stint as an expatriate as well, because I've enjoyed that expat lifestyle as well, having lived in Singapore for many years, yes. and being able to get involved in so many different committees and different causes. And I think it's really good because being in a fortunate position when you're in a new country to be able to give back and help those who are there makes such a difference. When you came back from PNG to Australia, did you find it difficult to assimilate back here?
Good question. I didn't notice necessarily that it was difficult to assimilate. I was ready to leave. I had got to the point where I feared for my safety far more than I didn't. So I was definitely ready to leave. So I was ready also to relaunch into my career again because I'd taken a gap of 3 years. Mm-hmm. And this is where it got really interesting. There was a fork in the road. I could take a short-term contract in Adelaide, or I could take a short-term contract in Melbourne. And I assessed the two and worked out that working for the Law Institute of Victoria would probably be a safer and perhaps a smarter choice than doing something that was more exciting based out of Adelaide. So at that point, I'd chosen excitement for most of my early career, but at that point I decided to make a sensible choice, and I've never looked back, to be honest.
Oh, fantastic, because you've had a really interesting career path more recently as well, from working at the Law Institute of Australia as a professional development program manager for about 5 years, and then to Network for Consumer Professionals, SOCAP Australia, as the CEO. Yeah. And then transitioning into entrepreneurship, which is what you do now with the Ambition Revolution, which sounds amazing because you're doing incredible work for women in leadership and helping them to break the glass ceiling and empowering women to really achieve. So let's find out more about the Ambition Revolution. And this is what you're doing now, because you've got such a good background and grounding as an independent woman and doing a lot of different things and making transitions. So your experience must really help others as well.
I think it does. Perhaps some would say I'm fairly brave. I don't feel brave, but sometimes I look back at my history and my career and think, oh, there's some brave moves there. Perhaps I just didn't know any difference. But through that, much of that later part that you mentioned, there was so Network for Fitness Professionals as an association or a peak body. Then there was the Law Institute, the Insurance Institute, Global Foundation, and finally SOCAP. And I think those things have in common, or the things that those companies have in common, is that they are peak bodies or professional associations. And therein came my motivation, because when you are calling for papers, or when I was calling for papers, I'd call for papers and 10 men would put their hand up and only one woman. I knew women were doing great work in all of those industries, but they were perhaps more reticent to say, yes, I'm doing great work. I would call for award nominations, and only the women would nominate the junior staff, which is the right thing to do. But then perhaps they didn't understand that they also needed to nominate themselves, or they were anxious about nominating themselves. Whereas some of the guys would even go out and get the comms department to help write their nomination, which is a smart play. I'm sure some of the women did too, but in my experience, it was easier to get the guys to nominate for awards than the women, and the women were all nominating their junior staff. So I noticed that this was happening, and that's really what informed this choice to set up a consultancy of my own and the Ambition Revolution. I think Timothy Leary has a famous quote, which is, I'm forgetting at the moment, but it's, if you're displaying as, if you aim as high as a man, you lack ambition. And it's not quite that. I can't remember exactly how it goes. But if you're aiming as high as a man, then you're lacking ambition. Well, I like that. I think it challenges us to aim a little bit higher.
Yeah, and you don't want to aim too low, because the fear is that you'll reach it. So
yeah, that's true.
There you go. But so now, with what you're doing, you provide workshops. You're a speaker, you're an MC, you coach, you do workshops. And so what would you say is your core offering at the Ambition Revolution?
My core offering is the one-on-one coaching or mentoring. I love it. I just love working with women. I actually have a few male clients, but predominantly women. I love it. The bond has to be right. There's a bond of trust, and it works both ways. It truly works both ways. And I love learning about people. I love challenging beliefs and assumptions, or peeling away the layers about what couldn't possibly be possible, and all of a sudden it's possible. So, for example, I started work with I met a woman maybe 3 years ago. A year ago, she started work with me. So there was a little hiatus there. She has just won, she emailed me at the end of the week, she just won a fabulous new promotion. It came with a pay rise in uncertain circumstances. She wasn't sure she was going to get it because there was a merge. She's also become a finalist in 2 awards, and she's just waiting, pending the judging to see if she's won an award or to see if she placed. So those moments are so fabulous. And Jane, I'm pretty sure you have those moments too.
I tell you, being a coach and helping people to gain the clarity about themselves, and also helping to instill that confidence in them, because it's there just so often. And you're right, with many women, they put it down. But I kind of work about 50-50 male or female. And there are a lot of men who also lack confidence too, I've found. But historically, it really is women who, it's like, okay, let's bring the men forward. And they always say that behind every strong man there is a strong woman. But why not make it the other way around? But helping someone to get an aha moment when it's like, oh, this is who I was meant to be all along. That is really magic. So I think we're very lucky to be in this profession for coaching. But you're doing such incredible work, and for you really focus on getting women to and beyond the C-suite, and that's your niche, isn't it?
That's right.
And so what would you say is the most enjoyable part? What's the one thing that you live for?
Oh, that's a big question.
I know. I like big questions. Let's make them really big, Amanda. I truly enjoy my clients' wins and achievements. It sort of sounds a little bit, obsequious, but it truly is incredibly rewarding. My husband is also a consultant, and there are weeks when he says, you're going to have to stop telling me about all the texts and emails you get from your clients, sending you positive feedback. 'Cause I do have a process where I encourage my clients to collect evidence of wins and achievements, because imposter syndrome is much easier to beat when you've got evidence to the contrary. So I do encourage that my clients collect evidence. But my husband says, I don't get those texts and emails. So I feel really fortunate, and truly that is a really big part of why I do what I do, to see the progress, and to see that moment when someone else sees what's possible for them. Just like I'm sure you have a coach, Jane, I have a coach, because there are those moments when we all need to be pushed.
So the work that I do around speaking, that I used to find that incredibly nerve-wracking. But that's me making sure that I remember what it's like to put myself out there, face my demons, do something I'm incredibly uncomfortable with, so that I have that degree of empathy for my clients and understand what they're going through.
I think if we do something that scares us every single day and do put ourselves out there, that's when we grow, because it's in that discomfort zone that the maximum growth happens too.
Yes.
What would you say, Amanda? I feel that I could talk to you all day, all night. It's getting late here in Sydney, but I want to know for you, what would you say if you were going to recommend any woman aspiring for the C-suite or who's already there and wants to stay there, what would be the top 3 tips for success?
The first tip is to back yourself. You've got to believe that you're okay. You've got to believe that you're doing great work. If you don't believe it, no one else will. So back yourself. The second one is you need to sell yourself in a way. You actually have to self-promote. Gone are the days where talent was discovered. It doesn't work like that anymore. You actually have to tell other people why you're good and what the impact was and what the results were. And there are ways of doing it where you don't come across sounding really, really dreadful. And it is tougher for a woman with self-promotion. You're damned if you do and doomed if you don't. But we do have to be able to sell the value of our offering. And the final part is to learn to own your expertise and express your expertise, your skill set, in ways that the rest of your industry or your business or a potential employer might understand and value. Getting the currency right is really important. For example, you wouldn't necessarily open a manufacturing sort of a meeting or a board meeting with a quote from Oprah, because it's not the right currency. That's not to say that Oprah doesn't say amazing things, but you've got to get the currency right.
And it has to resonate with the audience as well.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah, those are valuable tips. Now, Amanda, if someone wanted to find out more about you, obviously they'll find you on LinkedIn. However, if they want to reach out to you directly, what's your website and what are your social media handles so that we can tell people where to get you?
Well, I'm LinkedIn, of course. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. A little bit less active on Facebook, although I have groups for my clients on Facebook, which it's a really great platform for that. But my website is www.amandablesing, blessing with one S, .com.
Wonderful. And what's your Twitter handle?
At amanda.blessing. There's only one other Amanda Blesing in the globe, so I'm pretty.
Really? There's only with the spelling with one S.
Yes.
There you go. Well, I tell you what, on my show notes on janejacksoncoach.com, I'll have all of Amanda's links and the correct Twitter address.
Thank you.
So that you can easily find her. And of course, just type in Amanda Blesing with one S in LinkedIn and you will see her. And also, I know for a fact, Amanda posts some amazing articles and they're well worth a read because you're going to learn an awful lot from this lady. And thank you so much, Amanda, for your time. It was really good having a chat. I think we need to have another podcast interview for more in-depth stuff. There's a lot.
Thank you, Jane. Real pleasure. And what a delight to find out we had so much in common.
I know. We're going to share photos very soon. Lovely. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. If you enjoyed this podcast, look for Your Career Podcast on iTunes and leave a review. And for all the career management support you need to create your dream career, visit janejacksoncoach.com and join my Careers Academy for live career webinars, group coaching, one-on-one coaching support, as well as my online career development courses. Isn't it time you found your dream job?
You've been listening to Jane Jackson Careers. Sign up to receive regular career advice at janejacksoncoach.com.